Hails, dear audience, it's this time of the year when it's time to talk about festivals coming in 2023. Well, not exactly, but here we are having a kind of a preview for Steelfest 2023. Why so? Because early on, some bands, most of them have been already announced, and it's time to talk about what we are looking for in a few months. So this is roughly a quick preview look to the festival and its lineup. If you ask me, however, it's looking very, very great. Now, last year, that is this year, 2022, Steelfest had an anniversary and it was 4 days. That was a little bit too much for some people, and you could clearly see that by day 4, quite a bit of people were gone. I mean, there were like the real fanatics, me included. But 4 days of festivals with booze and sleep deprivation, and not to mention bands. Well, it's not band's fault really, but it kind of is somewhat taxing. So Steelfest seems to be back on the middle. Back in the sense that it's always been 2 days, and now it was 4 days, and now it's in the middle, 3 days, which I think is fantastic balance between, partying, if we can use that word when we're talking about the extreme metal festival, as well as, having the things like seeing friends, enjoying the bands, and once again, lack of sleep, too much booze, not enough proper food, and whatever. But we're not here to discuss those things. We're gonna get into details, how to travel, where to accommodate, whatever you need to do, plans according to get ready for Steelfest. Now we're going to just take a quick look at the bands in question. So this is very, very much like a preview. As you can see, the dates are already set, so it starts on 18th of May 2023 and ends on 20th. So 3 days, 18th, 19th and 20th. Alright, here we have some lineup. This is, by the way, merely an accident, and actually we're wearing a B-Hexen shirt when it's one of the lineup bands here. The big ones here. Now, this is not the final poster, which you can already figure out by this TBA to be announced. There are still some bands to be fit into roster, but nobody knows yet how big, how important, how cult, or whatever bands they're going to be. That is so far like a kind of a secret. But it's pretty much guaranteed that you won't see Marduk size of a band to be announced in the lineup. However, that doesn't mean they're just some unknown demo bands, but probably more cult names which have, which fit both for the days and the bill and themes, price and whatever. Don't know really the details, and it kind of goes beyond the scope of this video anyway. Personally, I'm going to mention some of my favorite ones, which I'm very stoked for, and in general going through. Now, a lot of you have already seen the news, of course, because this lineup was released almost a week prior to this video. That's when you saw Steelfest Facebook page releasing or announcing these names. And for some of you, this is already old news. However, I don't expect everybody to be on Facebook, let alone mention some of these names, why they are interesting. So I am doing my best. I tried to do a podcast episode of these bands in more detail, more in depth, if you will, but don't really know yet when it's going to happen and which format and all that stuff. But I was planning to do a podcast episode about this lineup, so we'll get into that thing in detail. But first of all, of course, the bigger ones are out there to drag the main audience. People are expecting Marduk to deliver, once again, a powerful show. Marduk is one of those household names of Swedish black metal, and should need no introduction. I guess that's one of the names that really bring people in, unless you've seen the band so many times. They're always solid, they're fast, they're fierce, and they never let you down. Then again, if you're not a Marduk fan, I don't know how much good that is doing for you. Carpeting Forest is also one of those Norwegian names that have been there since the early 90s, but, since later years they got into somewhat decline and haven't been exactly the kind of every year name. They've been at Steelfest before, 2017, one of the very first bands I interviewed there, and definitely liked the show back then, and I'm still interested to see them again. Let's hope I can do part 2 in the sense of interview as well. Bihexen is one of the cornerstones of Finnish black metal, then again, already coming from rather early in the 90s and always also a solid band. Not too often playing these kind of gigs, so this is something worthwhile seeing. But what about the people who are looking for smaller names, cult names and all that stuff? Well, I can say you're pretty much in for a treat. First of all, you will have here Natterfrost, which is a Carpenter Forest side project, as a lot of you might know. Not your typical name to be seen on the stage. I really don't know what to expect. Will it be a kind of a total debauchery or just something weird, goofy, whatever, choke, stand-up comedy, black metal show? I really don't know, but I have some expectations. I'm definitely going to see it. Nunslaughter, seen it once. They are hilarious guys playing their sort of hybrid extreme metal. Definitely recommending you, whether you want to call it Nun's Laughter or Nunslaughter. Interesting and funny band. And by funny I mean they totally nail the joking side, the goofier side, the blinking eye for you, like okay, while doing their music. Definitely interesting one. But one of the highlights for me is definitely seeing Gehenna for the first time. These Norwegian black metal, I guess we could say, pioneers in a way. After all, they created their own synth-filled atmospheric black metal style, only to just switch it later on for a more modern death metal. I don't really care which way they're going to go at the show, because I haven't seen them live, and I remember liking them a lot in the late or mid-90s, and of course early 2000s as well. And then they went on hiatus and all that stuff. Definitely very, very high on my list. I guess if I had to pick just one name to be the top of the list to see live, it would be Gehenna. Urgehall is one of those black metal names which is also worth mentioning because it just happens to be one of my favorite Norwegian black metal bands of all time. Tremendously overlooked and underrated for various reasons. I mean, they're not Mayhem, they're not, Emperor or Immortal or Darkthrone and all that stuff when it comes to, having the presence. But in my opinion, they are so much better in so many ways than Darkthrone has been for the past 15 years. And in general, their level of albums is, better than most bands coming from Norway. I know it's a lot of things to say, but I think Urgehall has always been a really top-notch band. Not their first album is not that good, but everything from that, really, really good stuff. And I've seen them live. Now, one of the main members is dead, so obviously some people are going to say, yeah, but it's not the original lineup. How can it be when one of the main members is dead? That doesn't mean it's not the solid and, authentic Urgehall experience. I can say that because I've seen the band twice before and after this unfortunate happening. And I think it's really, really a solid band, both on albums and live. So definitely these two are very high in my list. And I guess I should mention that in sense of seeing some of the bands for the first time are going to be that list as well. Some of the other things worth mentioning definitely are Pest from Finland. This is going to be more or less one of a kind of a show, or if they're going to play more shows, it's still nothing common. The band was pretty much split up, or at least on a very, very long hiatus for a lot of years, so it's going to be something very cult in that sense, very much an underground act you don't probably want to miss. Dead Card is going to be, for me, first time, so very much on top of my list as well, let's say in top 5, especially if they're going to play the older material. I mean, the early material before they kind of went for more industrial style, really nailing it. And Varadron, those warm-hearted guys from Greece, they play their own style. I mean, it's of course Greek black metal and not for everybody, but personally, I kind of like them. I mean, never been that big of a Greek black metal fan as, say, Swedish, Finnish, or Norwegian stuff, but Greek guys, they have, something very different, and that's something that you should not ignore. And they're really, really nice guys also. Other worth mentioning, I mean, this is a huge list, so I'm not going to go through it all. But personally, seeing Ymir for the first time, having now 2 albums out, is going to be interesting. Some new school of old school Finnish black metal. So definitely right there. Ride for Revenge is doing one of their very few shows in a very few years. So it's also something you might want to keep your eyes on. Personally, not exactly so much my style, but I like that they're doing their very own unique style of black metal. Personally, I'm going to see also the Committee for the second time. I saw them at Steel Chaos and liked their kind of atypical stuff, what was going on. So I liked it. I definitely want to see it again. And Pensies Nocturnes, I know I've been, slandering the guys for the very weird circus music, very French artistic stuff. But I want to see them. I'm expecting them to put up a very, very different show. So it doesn't matter how much I have been like painfully listening to their albums, and I know the guys can take my honest reviews and not take it personally. But seeing them on live is something that I'm totally into. I might be disappointed after 2 tracks and just walk away annoyed or laughing or whatever. Or then I just might be enjoying the whole show because I'm pretty sure they're going to be one of the unique kind, one of the wild cards of the whole event here. So definitely interesting. Also, never seen Merrimack play live. These French guys are, I bet, going to play something interesting on stage. So definitely right there on my list as well. Torture Killer, always solid. True Black Dawn, same thing. Haven't seen them for a few years, so definitely up for that. Nordjewel, interesting as well. Total Self-Hate playing their very dark and almost like depressive black metal. Not suicidal in the sense that a lot of people will understand it. By the way, interview coming out this month. And then there are a bunch of other bands like Hail Conjure, always interesting to see that is not your typical black metal show. And then there will be cult names such as Witchcraft, Rienaus, Evil Incarnate, and so forth. So small bands, quite a few. I mean, there are lots of bands which I haven't heard. I know them by name. And then there are bands which you can pretty much expect to play solid set like Lloyds from Estonia, also having somewhat different take on their black metal or flak and roll like they like to call it. All in all, very, very good different layers of bands. The big ones like Marduk and Carpathian Forest, Behexen, Gehenna, their stuff. And then you have this kind of a cult stuff which is not exactly super underground like Vedbo and Zende. And by the way, already agreeing an interview with them. Wow, so many months ahead. And then you have these rather weird or even smaller bands like Sex Messiah or Uduksul and so forth. So it's going to be interesting to see how these things unfold. You will probably see the smaller ones early in the afternoon and then proceeding towards the bigger ones. Some people are definitely in mostly for the big bands. Some of us are mostly in for the mid-tier bands, that is, bands that are not super big like Marduk, but not exactly the demo level bands. So it's going to be interesting. I think the balance is good between different styles. I mean, even though pretty much most of them are just black metal, the styles are different. I mean, you really couldn't say that Marduk sounds like Varathron or Gehenna sounds like Lloyds or True Black Dawn sounds like, Witchcraft. So different things for different people, and it's gonna be interesting. And also, it's not purely just black metal, as you can see with bands like Torture Killer or Pensees Nocturnus. So it's gonna be interesting. A little bit different, but mostly focusing on the world of black metal. So I think this is a very, very solid lineup all in all, and I'm personally very stoked to see a lot of these bands live as well as 2 interesting interviews. Who knows how it unfolds eventually, but this time I'm very much like, let's fucking do it. So, more information coming later on the side of 2023. And then we're going to talk about more like traveling, accommodation, and if there are new bands that have been released by that, we're going to also tackle those things. And once again, should you have any questions after this video, just drop me a comment in the comments box below and I will get back to you. And if I don't any given answer, I will always put it to the Steelfest crew and they will let me know with the answers or maybe personally come to answer those questions. Anyway, they're ready there to answer that. And don't waste nobody's time, including yours, to just drop some stupid political statements. This is all about music, and if you can handle it, maybe it's your time to, I don't know, hit the gym or whatever. This is Rauta. See you soon with more videos coming your way, and bye-bye.